Today, I want to talk a bit about flow state and something called flow channel, right? So, let me tell you a story. About 6 months ago, I started reading this very interesting book about flow state by basically like the person who studies the flow state and how it occurs and basically what it is, for pretty much his entire life. And very main concept he explained in his book is something called flow channel, and it's the number one requirement that is need to be done in order for you to enter flow state. All right, so first of all, what even is flow state? So flow state is that feeling, this kind of state when you do a certain activity and you're so immersed in it that the time seems like go by. You basically all your focus is basically on the task, on the activity, and you're so immersed so much into the task that your productivity skyrockets. And after this float say experience, you feel like really freaking good. All right, so this is something that you commonly see in sports. um, if you got in a situation when you're uh, it's like pretty hard for you, but you still manage to win, that's where this flow state occurs, right? For example, like I get a very consistent flow state when it comes to um, playing with my friends with what's it called in English, I don't know. It's called piłkarzyki in Polish, but yeah. So we basically play pretty much every day in our school. We have this thing in our school, and when we play, we usually play like 1 versus 2, and then it's like possible to win, but also hard to win. And this is the number one thing that contributes to flow state. All right. So once again, I sadly can't draw on this whiteboard because I don't have any markers. They didn't get delivered yet. But what I will tell you is how the flow channel works and how you can use this to basically work harder, get in a flow state way easier, and basically feel like your work is so easy to do that it just feels stupid not to do, and you just crave doing hard things. All right. So imagine a graph right here, all right? Here you have difficulty, and here um, you have your skill. And in this graph, right, there will be like a channel, a set of proportions of difficulty to your skill that if it's met, you will easily went into flow state, right? And so let me give you a few examples, all right? Let's say you're doing like a copy paste work. So you have like a document, and you basically like need to type this down, right? You need to retype this whole thing. And that may seem really freaking boring. And that's because it is, at least in my opinion, right? And so what happens is that this is on a graph where difficulty is practically zero and skill is met, right? And that's the spot out of the flow state. So you're not in flow state, and the work feels hard, feels boring, feels basically pointless. Another example is, let's say you've never taken a sales call, all right? You've never tried sales before, and then you have your first call, all right? Then, and depending on the situation, let's say you know nothing about sales, nothing, you don't even know what to do. You just like heard from your boss, all right, today will you do this, and like in 10 seconds he like made you in a meeting, right? And this is something, well, difficulty is very freaking high, and the skill is low. That's also out of the flow channel, right? And now let me give you a third example, all right? Let's say once again, or maybe not. Let's think of this. Um, let's say you're pretty good at like dodgeball, let's say. All right, you're pretty good at dodgeball, and your friends are still pretty good, but not as good as you. But then you have a situation where you are one against four people, and so you go there and you basically play with them. You try to like make dodges for their moves, for their throws, and it feels challenging, but at the same time you have enough skill to back it up and actually like make it look like pretty good, right? And that's where the proportions are met and you are in flow channel, right? And so this is when you like enter the flow state. So once again, like to recap, I gave you three examples. One, something boring with no difficulty, but you have enough skill. And two, you have very difficult, like difficulty is very high and you don't have the skills. And three, there is difficulty, but at the same time, you have skill. All right. So how can you implement this to your work? How can you make this so that hard work feels freaking easy, like seems like it's flowing by, the hours are rolling and rolling, and you basically feel like the time is passing way too quickly and you're really proactive. How can you use this to your advantage? Well, it all comes down to making the task, to adjusting the task in order for you to fit in the flow channel, right? So, for example, today I had pretty boring work, which is like making a presentation for my course, right? And like, let's say the first step to making this to your advantage, to making this your advantage, is to first identify where on this graph your task is being met. Mine was pretty boring with like no difficulty at all, and skill was like enough to do this, right? I knew how to like make these slides. I have some previous experience with like graphic design and stuff, so it wasn't like really challenging. And what I've done is I've set a time frame. All right, so what I've done is I adjusted the challenge, I increased the challenge, so then I fit in the flow channel, right? And how have I done this? Well, to increase the challenge, we can do a few things, but the one standing out is giving yourself special like time frame in order for you to accomplish the task, right? So you like flow channel is commonly used in games. Like many popular games use flow channel to advantage, so they can like hook up the players and make them basically play for a long hours. And this is something called gamification, right? And for games to like make you go and like have enough challenge, they sometimes set you different time frames in order to accomplish some kind of goal. So let's say you are like in a game and you basically it's like a racing game and you have your competitor, right? You have your competitor. So it's not like you just go and you drive through the track, right? It's not like that. You have your competition and then you need to be faster than your competition in order to win the race, right? So there's a specific time frame set. You can't just go and sit in an hour in one position because you're going to lose. But if you accomplish this time frame that they want you to accomplish, then you will win the race, right? So there's like a bit of pressure going on. And we can use this exactly the same to your work, right? So we can do this so that like once again, today I had like this boring task of making the course presentation, and what I've done is I basically set a deadline. I've set like a clock, and then I saw how many slides can I do in 10 minutes, for example. Okay, let's say I did like 3, all right? Then, once again, like I've set the timer once again and I was trying to compete with myself. I was trying to achieve the highest score that I've ever gotten, right? So if my previous score was 3, then my goal was aiming for 4, right? I was competing with myself. And if, for example, this 3 basically was like not that difficult, then like let's say my skill is here and the difficulty is here, right? If first I do a bit of work and then set the default option to 3, like the default amount of slides I can do in 10 minutes to 3, then the difficulty, in order to beat that, goes higher, right? And you can see the pattern that if we adjust the challenge to your skill level, then you will end up in the flow channel and you will basically make your work feel effortless, right? And now you're competing with this 3 in order to beat the record, and then suddenly it's more challenging, right? And once you get to 4, it's even more challenging. And what I found is that it's best to try to compete with your latest latest number, right? So sometimes if you always trying to get the highest score possible, then sometimes the difficulty will be then too much and the skill will be too little, right? But if you always compete with the time, the amount that you got a little before this attempt, then you will always have this kind of pressure, this kind of competitive thing with you, and it will make you really, really freaking easy to work. All right, so that was the insight I wanted to share with you today, and yeah, see ya, guys.